Hey, everybody, welcome back. Today we are talking with my friend Megan. She followed kind of an untraditional career path where her college major didn't really match up with the job that she got right after. And then thankfully, she found out the option of going to get an MBA, and that kind of led to where she is today. It's a really interesting conversation about her career. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Share this with all of your career curious friends. Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, my name's Megan Draper. I'm in Lehigh, Utah, and I work at Adobe. And at Adobe, I run a team of people responsible for building sales training programs. So we are called the Sales Enablement Team. Okay, and enablement's a weird word. No one grows up and says, I want to go into enablement. Like, that's not even a thing, right? You do grow up and say you want to go into sales, but who makes sales become better, right? And so at Adobe, it's called Sales Enablement. And in that organization, I run all of the global programs to train sellers all over the world. And there's two kind of categories of training that a seller needs. They have to learn what they sell. So, like, if they're going to sell this water bottle, they have to know everything about it, what color it is, its size, what its pricing is, what its value is in the market. But then they have to learn how to be a good seller. Like, how do you communicate properly? How do you kind of follow the sales process? What are the best tactics to win in a competitive environment? So we call that the what we sell and the how we sell. And on my team, I have a group of people reporting to me that do the what you sell, and I have a team doing the how you sell. So I'm responsible for both. That's what I
Okay,
do.
so you're not actually selling, you are helping the Adobe salespeople.
Yep, I'm training them.
Training.
So
Okay.
so there are you probably have heard of product marketing managers, product marketing as a function, or product management. A lot of people, when they go into business, they're trying to become either a product manager or a product marketing manager. So the product managers are creating the water bottle, got to
Yeah.
make it. The product marketing managers are saying, how do I make this water bottle enticing to the market? Both of those people are creating all of this information. And the seller is supposed to ingest all of that information and then figure out what to do with that information in a way that will make them great, will make them win. My job is to take all that information out there about the water bottle and create training programs that help sellers learn that information and apply that information really well to be like an amazing salesperson.
Okay. You said something then that might make the engineers a little upset because the product manager might be figuring out what is the best water bottle to make, but it's the engineers who actually build the thing, right?
Yes, and that's absolutely true. At Adobe, we don't sell water bottles. So,
Right. Yeah.
right. So that's the difference between if I was at a company that sold water bottles, someone designs it and makes it, right? And then you'd have
Yeah.
an engineer that like crafts it. So at Adobe, we sell software, right? And that software is creative software and digital marketing software. And so the product manager has to figure out what are the requirements, what should this software do, and then there's a team of engineers who are the real heroes that actually build it, and they get
Got
paid
it.
to do.
So the only Adobe product that I actively use is the free PDF reader. I have used some other products like Photoshop or the video editor. I don't remember what it's called. I have used those in the past before. And so is your sales team every Adobe product, even some of the business to business stuff that normal consumers don't even know about? You guys are
Yes.
selling it all? Okay.
Yes. So at Adobe, and to understand what I do, you have to kind of understand Adobe a little bit,
Yeah.
because sales enablement, right? It's a service organization for sales. So the seller has to figure out how to sell the thing Adobe is making. And Adobe has kind of two businesses. One are the creative software that you're probably familiar with, like Photoshop,
Yep.
Illustrator, anything you need to build graphic images, design, asset management, etc. That's our creative business. And then the other side is our digital marketing business, which probably the only thing people have heard about is Adobe Analytics, which is an
Okay.
analytics software. But there's like 15 other products. The analytic or the digital marketing side of the business, their whole purpose is to help businesses, right, understand who their customers are, track them, create their customer profiles, and then create campaigns to get customers to buy their stuff. So think digital marketing, enterprise grade software. So sales enablement actually is more on the digital marketing side because those are products that are sold to enterprise level businesses, like B2B businesses.
Yep.
Recently, though, I did take on the small enterprise group of digital media, which is the creative business. So the programs I build work for both businesses now. So my scope went from like this big to this big. And then it's also in every region. So I travel around the world doing training programs, which is so fun because I get to travel on Adobe's dime.
Yeah. That does sound really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, this is good. I mean, I'm learning more about Adobe than I knew before. Do you usually go into the office there at the point of the mountain, or are you working from home a lot?
So I can do both. My team's super flexible, so I can work from home as much as I want. I like to go in because for me, work is part spending time with the people that I like. I wouldn't be working there if I didn't like the people. So I work from home when it's super convenient for me with kids and health and pregnancy, everything. And then I
Yeah,
go in to spend time with my coworkers.
I work from home full time now, and if my office, my home base office, wasn't in Kentucky and it was like 10 minutes away, I think I would prefer to be in the office.
That's
Um,
exactly right. Yeah.
it's kind of easier to focus there. When I'm at home, I'm thinking about all of the house projects that I could be working on while I'm not working. And so but I hate commuting so much. And so like the cost of a commute into the office is just not worth it most of the time. Now I don't really have the choice because it's a fully remote job.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like 10, 15 minutes away. So
Yeah.
just pop on over there.
Great. Okay. So that sounds like a pretty cool job. Now tell us, we were talking before we started recording. This obviously is not like a straight career path like an engineer or something like that, where you go to school to be an engineer and then you get a job as an engineer. Tell me how you ended up where you are.
Yeah. So how I ended up where I am is not how I would recommend everyone end up there. I will say that sales enablement is a growing critical strategic function in all enterprise sales companies. All companies that have enterprise selling teams, there's actually this driving need to make enablement a more critical function because they're realizing that especially with budget cuts, um, you have to do more with the people that you have. You can't expect to just keep adding salespeople, right? So training is critical. And there's a maturity curve of sales enablement, right? Where it can become a strategic function in the business, or it can just be those people that you tell to like do a webinar to help your sellers. So Adobe's on that journey. And how I got here was actually I I landed in Adobe and then I got moved into enablement when it was a really low maturity organization. And that's how my career kind of blossomed. So I'll tell you kind of how I landed here. My background is completely non traditional, no sales experience. I got an undergrad in political science. And what do you do with that, right? It's either a lawyer or a PhD. I started to pursue the PhD and was like, this is awful. Like I didn't go into it. I kind of applied. Did you get a PhD?
No, I got a master's degree and in the
Yeah.
process thought about a PhD because I thought the robes looked really cool.
Yeah.
But then for aerospace engineering at Georgia Tech, the qualifying exam is like a 3 hour oral exam where you've got five professors that can just ask you whatever they feel like. And I was like, nah, not interested. Don't want to do that.
That was the one deciding factor. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had done research in my undergrad and realized that it's a super isolating journey. You're not doing research with a bunch of friends. You're sitting in a room writing a paper like a
Yeah.
big, big book, right? And I just realized that wasn't for me. Well, at that point, what do? I'm not going to become a lawyer because that's awful. And then PhD wasn't the right route. So I took some time off, served a mission, got home with no prospect, no job prospect, right? It's like the traditional story of like getting a degree, being highly educated, but not finding your path right away. I had a friend who had started a small startup company in Provo. He needed someone, the first employee, I was their first employee, to come in and kind of run the office and kind of help grow this business. And I thought, well, I don't know what I'm doing. That was a Shark Tank company. They landed on
Yep.
Shark Tank while I was there. That exploded and grew 1 million in revenue, then 2, then 4. So I got to help grow the business. And as I did that, I discovered, wow, I really like business. Like, this is really fun stuff. Still didn't know what I was doing with my life. Um, and honestly was pretty lost for a good 3 years. That's a long time to be like
Yep.
lost, right? And not sure of the path. One day, someone came in to help us at the business, and she had just finished her MBA. And the moment I heard MBA, it was like, oh, why didn't I think of that? My time at Phone Soap, that's the startup I was at, that time qualified me to get an MBA at BYU. So without any background in business or you know business in undergrad or whatever, I got into the BYU MBA program, and that program completely changed my life. Anyone that's ever struggling with what to do, I mean, this is still my advice, but it's maybe less relevant in this market. But my advice has been for the last 10 years, get an MBA, because it opens up all these doors that were previously completely closed to you, and you learn so much about different functions of business. I feel like everyone can use it. With that in the program, I figured out what I liked, and I interviewed and got a job at Adobe, which is the best job that I could have ever landed out of an MBA at BYU. I got put into product marketing, and I wasn't a product marketer. I was the enablement person for product marketing. So
Okay.
again, they're creating all this content, and they're like, what do I do with this content? How do I get the content to the seller in an effective way? So I started in content strategy. Now, being in product marketing is awesome, right? Because that's where the business is fast, a lot of innovation. It was really fun. Well, the business decided, hey, you, Megan, you're actually doing enablement. So you can't be in marketing. We have to pick you up and move you to enablement. And I cried. I mean, wept for hours, because enablement at Adobe in 2019 was the least strategic place to go. It was like it's the team that does onboarding.
Yeah.
Anyone have a lot of warm and fuzzy feelings about the team that does onboarding? Like,
Does anyone even
generally,
remember that team? Yeah.
anyone remember that? I mean, you're looking at like trainers. You're like, that's just not me. I thought my career was over. I thought for sure I was going to have to leave. And this happened to a few of my friends who are also BYU MBAs. So we huddled up and thought, what do we do? And we looked around the organization and realized that is a highly ineffective, not strategic organization. And if that's the case, then we could come in and do our best to find big problems and solve them. Kind of put on a business consultant hat.
Yeah.
As we did that, we actually started to make the business more effective. And then this is just the miracle part of my story, is all of the leadership got fired or got let go, left. And
What a miracle.
yeah, us like inexperienced kind of generalist consultant type MBAs all got to run promoted to run the organization. And now we've grown it into, a more mature strategic enablement organization. I love enablement. Like, I honestly, this is the miracle of it. I think if I could have chosen this, I would go back and do this differently to land in this function. I think it fits my skill sets perfectly. And it's just amazing. I'm able to be a great mom, and I'm able to have like a really, really great corporate job. So
Yeah.
it's all a miracle in my opinion.
So this is interesting because I think a lot of people may look at their career path like, where is the next place that I need to be? But especially as I've been having more of these conversations, nobody's career path is exactly predictable. Even if you know exactly what you want to be when you're in school, there are other opportunities or other shifts or other challenges that come up, right? I started mechanical engineering thinking I'm going to go be a mechanical engineer and I like airplanes. Then an opportunity opened up to go to graduate school for aerospace engineering, which was great. And I'm like, okay, now I've got both experience. But then my lab at Georgia Tech was really focused in aerospace operations, um, and especially applying data sciencey type topics to aerospace operations. And so I've never actually done quote unquote engineering. I haven't like designed planes or anything. I've always been doing either an operational role, and now in a data science role, and
Mm,
I was just following opportunities as they came. Right,
that's exactly.
yours seems like a little bit more jumping around than even what mine was just like following tangential career paths, and yours is like, well, don't know what to do. Phone soap, great. You said you didn't have any sales experience, but I remember you told me once that you stood at the kiosk for phone soap
Yes,
for
I
at
did
least
do
a
that.
couple of shifts, right? I don't know,
Yes,
maybe
I did do
I guess
that.
that doesn't count.
I
Anyway,
did that. But that's exactly right. I think um like I feel very blessed that the in my lost state, right? That time period that I felt so lost worked for my good, right? It
yeah,
then prepared me for the next step. I didn't know what the next step was. The next step was an MBA. Okay, well, an MBA is very, challenging. It's rigorous, and the people there are the most intelligent, brilliant people. They'd been from all these companies, had all this experience, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Major imposter syndrome. But it was all of that networking and all that work and all the relationships I built. It's actually because of someone in the MBA that I got the role at Adobe.
yeah,
They referred me to their brother-in-law and I got hired at Adobe. And then when I'm in Adobe, I'm like trying to find my way, kind of figuring it out. And then this move against my will happens. Well, what am I going to do? Am I going to quit? Well, we saw that there's an opportunity there. So, and now I'm getting promoted at Adobe in a rapid fire that's not usual for the career path, but it's all because of time and place. Like there's an opportunity, you're going to take it. So sometimes I feel like, well, I'm just lucky, but you also have to be prepared for the opportunity that's there and have the courage to take the opportunity because someone else could say, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do that. Maybe it seems scary or, I'm not ready, but I'm very courageous. I'm just going to go after it. And
yeah.
that's led to the success.
Do you like your job? It sounds like you like your job.
Yeah, I love my job. I mean, there's what I do at it, and then there's working at Adobe. And here's the thing: if any corporate job you're going to get is going to suck for a lot of reasons. Like corporate life has its downsides. There are going to be things that you're like, why am I here? Like maybe the grass is greener on some other side. Everyone I know that has left Adobe has come back. I'm not
Yeah,
joking. So there's corporate life and the challenges of a large corporate life. Those are there, right? But Adobe has really unique culture and benefits that make it so hard to leave. And people that do leave are like, I was wrong. The grass isn't greener, and they come back. So I love Adobe. I think it's an incredible culture to be at with amazing people, kind of filled with all the people that you just want to work with, the type of people you want to work with. And then I like what I actually do. I think that my time in research, I was an adjunct professor at BYU, all of that just perfectly leads to sales training. It's like being the teacher of business. And that's something I didn't even know that role existed. It's a perfect fit for me.
great. Yeah, I've heard similar stories about Adobe, and it's great when you can find a situation where you really love your company and you really love your job.
Mhm.
So, how much do you make?
So, sales enablement global program managers on average make around, well, like in Utah, it's like 90 to 150. At Adobe, the average is like 120 to 175, and I make on the higher end of that range. But when you have your base salary at Adobe, and then the benefits are like golden handcuffs at Adobe, right? Because I have my base salary, and then I get 20% AIP. Okay. So my total compensation ends up plus stock purchased at a discount,
Yep.
20% of my paycheck. My total compensation gets up to 200 plus with the stock benefits, right? And that's again as a sales enablement professional, which is incredible. So I looked in the industry to see like is that is that about the same? And it is, like I said, there's that range, but if you have certain qualifications like been in sales, MBA or master's degrees, right? And then
Yep.
any sort of sales training experience, you get to that higher end of the range.
That makes sense. And that 20% is pretty good for an AIP. at least anecdotally based on the people I've talked to, I don't know about
Yeah. So Adobe
widely spread.
starts as a professional. I entered as a professional because I had the MBA, right? So I wasn't entering, you know how there's different levels
Uh-huh.
of a tier of an individual contributor. I entered at a high level because of the master's degree, which I recommend if you want to go into enablement. We can talk about this. Like, if this function sounds interesting to you, I can tell you what I think you should do to get there, right? To maximize your earning potential and your influence. But I entered again by luck, the MBA, entered in at that high level. And then you enter at a 15% AIP. Then I became a manager. So I actually run a team of people, and that's when your AIP goes up to 20, which
Okay,
is like
great.
insane.
So this is good. I think I'm trying to decide, like, should we just go into education and MBAs now, or should I reschedule another time with a couple other people? My story is a little bit different because I've always kind of had a technical career in mind. When I went to business school, it was because it was a dual degree program, so it was
Mhm.
extra cheap. I didn't have full time work experience before my MBA. And so the recruiters coming during the
Mhm.
MBA, some of them were just like, no, we're not even interested. The time you spent doing research academically, we don't care. Some of them were still interested, but ultimately, I was more interested in doing something technical and getting the MBA now instead of later, for the just straight up cost and also the opportunity cost of leaving a career to go back to school. Anyway, that's, I think, a different conversation that I would love to dig into of was it worth it. It sounds like you are clearly on the side of yes, absolutely it was worth it, at least for your situation.
Like the economy right now, the world and the state of MBAs right now is different than it was when I went 7 years ago. But ever since 7 years ago when I went and the way it changed my life, I went in as a non-traditional person, like a did not have the background, and the MBA completely revolutionized my job prospects, my capabilities, my confidence, my earning potential, everything. I mean, I like quadrupled my salary, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so for me, it was absolutely worth it. Plus, I have never had a better time in my life than the BYU MBA program. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't get better than that. So it's really hard, but I do recommend it. I've recommended like 10 people and they've all gone and done it and loved it, right?
Yep.
But the economy right now is different. And MBAs are getting saturated in the market. So the earning the title is kind of getting means a little less.
Yeah.
You have to go to the right school and you have to get the right training at the MBA for it to really pay off.
Yep. If I have any regrets from my time in business school, it's that I didn't spend more time hanging out around the business school
Yeah.
because I had two very
You
young
do a
kids
degree.
and I was doing aerospace research or
Yep.
kind of helping out over there at the same time. One of the huge benefits of the MBA is the network and connections. And I just didn't build that as strongly because I was only there for 1 year and I was back and forth getting pulled every which way.
The reason sales enablement's a great function to get into, like if people are investigating careers, being a seller, right, has its perks. I mean, it's super high salary, but the pressure is so high, especially in enterprise sales. I could not do that. I can't sleep at night with like knowing that I have a $50 million quota that I have to hit. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but if you're interested in sales, the psychology of that going into sales enablement means that you serve them. So you're kind of part of that engine. And that's really great. And then how do you prepare to get there? I think that if I could go back, I would have become a seller at some point, like held a quota bag, because then I'd be able to train more effectively and done it when I'm young and naive, right? Nothing to lose, just kind of get into selling. And then I do think that sales enablement benefits from people that get generalist degrees in consulting, in thinking strategically, right? Not necessarily like it has to be a certain function. It's not like studying HR makes the difference. The MBA in general made the difference for me, right? How to think about business, how to think about creating solutions to problems, which is a consultative approach. So,
Yeah.
um, the guy that hired me was like, "Hey, I'm hiring you because I see that you've done all these case competitions, which is when you get given a problem in college and you stay up all night to solve it and you win." And I was part of like 5 winning teams, and he's like, "I'm going to hire you because you already know how to think about like approaching problems consultatively." He didn't hire me because I had any enablement experience, that I knew
Yep.
anything about sales, because I didn't. Right. And so sometimes I think that to get the job you want, you just need to be a rock star at whatever you're doing. Just be the best at what you're doing and try to get actual hard real life skills that you can apply along the way.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say is sales enablement is a great function to go into for a more balanced lifestyle. So I'm a mom, I have 2 little kids, and I work at a large corporate enterprise company. And in some functions, there could be a lot of pressure, but in enablement, it's a service organization. So my programs, my jobs are very cyclical. So I'll have busy times and then I'll have not busy times at all, and busy times and not at all. That's perfect, because if I travel and I'm away from my kids for a little bit and then I'm back, I'm really back. And I have time to put more into being there for them. And so it's not like I'm in butt in seat, 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's cyclical. When my work's done, I go home. So
Yeah.
sales enablement's a great job for that sort of lifestyle that you're looking for.
Great. Does your husband have a full-time job too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
great. So that I can see how that would be important to be able to push and pull a little bit and juggle it together. Juggle's the word. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
This goes into like being a woman in business, right? Which is a whole different topic. But I think it's important, if you have women watching, like if you're going, you have to figure out what to do with kids. And there are a myriad of different options. And in our
Yep.
case, because we have the 2 incomes that are high incomes, we have a nanny that's able to come to our home. That's not possible for everyone, right?
Yeah.
But that maximizes my time with my kids because we're all home together.
Right.
And but you have to weigh all of that. For me, if I was going to work, I knew I needed to make good money. So that's why the MBA was chosen, right? So that I could provide the best nurturing experience I could for my kids, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I oriented it.
This has been really fun to have a conversation with you because we can talk openly about the actual company that you work for instead of generalities about what kind of career this is. Obviously, during this conversation, I'm not expecting that you're acting as an official representative of Adobe, right? We're still just talking about your career and your experience there. That's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thank you to Megan for coming on and telling us all about her great career. If you have any questions for her, go ahead and drop them in the comments below, and we will try to get those answered for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with all of your career curious friends.